Starland, well, according to BAFTA, which is an organization that doesn't really do much with games, as far as I know, this is their top 20 video game characters. Now, you may see some of these you think kind of make sense. Mario being up there makes sense. Sonic being up there kind of makes sense. Master Chief being on there makes sense. A lot of these characters should be in the top 20. But there are some real problems here. For one thing, as much as I like Lara Croft, I don't think she's the most recognizable gaming character. I think Mario's higher than Lara Croft, and even Master Chief is probably higher than Lara Croft. And then, what was the other one I thought was weird? Shadowheart and Astarion are both from a game that is 1 year old. So I'm not sure they should be on there either. Sackboy in 5th. As much as, you know, I'm not saying anything wrong about the games, that should not be in 5th. So this is an odd one. Chat, do you have any like significant disagreements? Pikachu being in 12th, Pikachu being underneath Arthur Morgan. Again, these are all pretty good characters, but Pikachu should not be under Arthur Morgan, no matter how good the Red Dead games are. And again, I'm not saying any of these shouldn't be in the top 20 necessarily, but the order is really weird. And I feel like with Lara Croft being underneath Mario, I feel like maybe that may be a slight bias to try and get a woman on top of the graph. Not sure. It's good to see Hitman Agent 47 so high up, but I kind of doubt that he should be, to be honest. Like, all of these are, as I say, good characters, but I played the Hitman games a lot as a kid, so I like the character, I like the games. He shouldn't be in 3rd. And I'm kind of surprised Sonic is in 4th, because what the hell good games has Sonic released in the last 30 years? Yeah, as Jack says, Ancient 47 is iconic, but more iconic than Sonic and Pac-Man. Yeah, and again, I'm not that sure about Pac-Man, because it's a very old game. He probably should be in the top 20, maybe, but maybe not 6th. I think that's a bit high. If I was making this chat, I think I would put Mario, to be fair, probably is the highest, followed by either Pikachu or Master Chief. And then Link might be in there as well. A lot of people don't know Link's name because it's the game series is named Zelda, but the character's named Linked. Steve, Minecraft Steve, as much as he isn't really a character, if you are counting him as a character, he should probably be in the top 5, probably even top 3. Ellie from Last of Us is a weird inclusion as well. That's probably too high. Again, most of these are fine to be in the top 20, but the ordering is weird. Yeah, Doom Guy should be in here, as BritTwit says. But what if Zelda was a girl? Meatballs says BAFTA are British, so Lara gets some extra points by default. That might be a factor, yeah, but it really shouldn't be. Gross lack of legacy game characters as Atromok. Who do you mean exactly? Battlement says Agent 47 is crazy high. Yeah, I don't know why he's so high. I like that he's well recognized, but I don't know why he's that high. The Hitman games are very popular these days, the newish ones, and it's very surprising, very refreshing to see remakes and reboots of a franchise be actually very good. By all accounts I've heard, the Hitman games are really good, and I really should play them, the newer ones, but he shouldn't really be that high. Nighthawk says they swap out Cloud with Sephiroth. Is Sephiroth on here? Oh, in 16th. Maybe Sephiroth is higher than Cloud, yeah? Not sure. Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem was very popular. I'm not sure he still is. Similar story with Sonic. Like, Sonic higher, sure, but yeah, there hasn't really been many good games for Sonic in the last 20. It is much like he was very, very popular, a rival to Mario like 40 years ago. Wes says the most well-known female character, Samus, isn't on here. She maybe should be on here, but I don't know if she's the most well-known female character. And again, if this was from 20 or 30 years ago, then she would be. But I think Lara Croft probably is the best-known female video game character. But she shouldn't be quite that high up. And yeah, Dekra says Tifa is more remembered than Cloud. I wonder why. Shadowheart seems too high. Drake is just male Lara and where is Samus? Drake is good. I'm glad that he's there. But I think Lara is more well known than Drake. Yeah, Lady Dimitrescu maybe could be on here as well. I'm not sure she would be in the top 20, but she probably would be quite high up. Oh, Asian 47. It's good. All depends if this is of all time or recently. Yeah, I guess so. If it's recently though, then how is Pac-Man on there? They didn't include any Overwatch characters. Yeah. That's a good point, Atronach. Yeah, you might think they would be. It's cool that Crash is on here, and it sort of implies that Spyro might be just off the bottom of this top 20 somewhere. It probably is supposed to be an of all time, whereas let's have a look at what the text says. It does say of all time in BAFTA. It's just like there are some really weird orderings here. I think the weirdest one is Sackboy in 5th. Those games were fairly popular with PlayStation players like 10, 15 years ago, but it's not big enough to be there. Master Chief should be way above Sackboy, and he's 3 points below. Yeah, this is of all time, Atronach. As Twitter says, Steve has no character, and no Ezio. That's a really good example, actually. Ezio definitely should be on here. The only thing is, they haven't really done much with Ezio since the Assassin's Creed 2 games, but I would vote for him. In fact, if I had to choose a single video game character to say who is the best video game character of all time, I think it would be Ezio. Atronach says there's not even any Chrono Trigger characters. Geralt probably should be on there. That's a good point, Meat Bun, yeah. Another very good point. Kieran says this reeks of a 10-minute Wikipedia search. Maybe. Whereas says if it's an all-time list, then Samus, Doomguy, BJ Blazkowicz, and the Duke should be on here. Then it would be all men. Yeah. I would agree that Doomguy should be on here. The other three, a little less so, because Samus is... the Metroid games are fairly well known, but Samus is always in armor, so he's not as recognizable. Should be in the top, 50 at least, maybe the top 20, but not as high as Doomguy. Doomguy should be in the top 10. BJ Blazkowicz, again, not as well known. That's Wolfenstein, right? So yeah, he should be high, but I don't think as high as Doomguy, or maybe not even top 20. And Duke, again, it's been a very long time since it's been a good Duke Nukem game, but he's well recognized for memes, so he maybe could be in the top 20. Yeah, as Wes says, Duke Nukem 3D was as genre defining as Doomguy. Yes, and again, if we're doing this as all time, a rating of most popular all time, regardless like how popular they are now, then maybe Duke Nukem should be higher. Yeah, but if we're doing the best video game character or voters today taken from all time, which is probably what this is actually reflecting, then it's as I said. Rayman, Gordon Freeman, and Ratchet are good examples of Meat Bun. I'm not sure any, like, Gordon Freeman, as Wes has mentioned, and similar to Steve here, doesn't really have a personality, but they are very recognizable, Gordon Freeman, so I'm kind of surprised he's not higher on this list, yes. Rayman and Ratchet are obviously great characters, I love the games, but they're also kind of old, and they weren't as big as most of these. So some Mortal Kombat, is that Mortal Kombat Protogen characters, or was it Street Fighter? Either way, like fighting game, there's very few fighting game. In fact, are there any fighting game characters on here? There should be. I think there should be at least one. They're pretty popular. Max Demon has asked ChatGPT, I think that's 4, for its list. It gave Mario, Link, Master Chief, Lara Croft, Cloud, Snake. Snake should be on here. Yeah, he's probably about in the right place. Pac-Man and Sonic. So that's a better list. I still would disagree a little bit with that, but it's a better list. Steve Armstrong here. No villains, says Atronach. There's some good villains. I mean, Sephiroth was listed, was proposed earlier. It's specifically, it says the 20 most iconic video game characters of all time. So iconic is a bit different from favorite, which actually iconic lends a lot of credence to Wes's argument that like characters that were iconic in the past should still be on here, but iconic could be interpreted as like in your current opinion, but taken from all time. So yeah, it depends how you ask it, I guess. Enigmatic is a good point. No TF2. The thing is that the TF2 characters are really well known, but there's 9 of them, at least, 9 main ones. So it kind of spreads out across them too much. People would pick their favorite character and that would split the vote too much if this is voting based. But if you were to have a category which is like the TF2 mercs, that probably would be on here. Or it should be anyway. Yeah, exactly as where it says the TF2 cast, but they're not really one character, so that may be a bit unfair. And they're not even that similar. Like, you'd have to make a pretty strong argument that they should be counted as one thing. We're getting a lot more conversation out of this than most of the other stuff so far this stream, but yeah, it sounds like pretty much we all agree almost entirely on the problems here. Of course, personally, I would like to see Spyro on here, but I know he probably isn't top 20. But I think he's top 50. Yeah, but Wolf, they're in their own individual categories. Where it says the main takeaway is stop paying attention to game journos. Yes. I've been saying it for like 10 years, and I'm not the only one, but game journalists are one of the lowest forms of life. In general, anywhere. Which just says, frankly, Pac-Man shouldn't be there. Again, it really depends on how you ask the question. If we're talking about historically most iconic, or like the ones who have been the most popular at some point in history, then, you know, as Wes says, Duke Nukem, but also Pac-Man can certainly be there. But if we're talking about the most iconic to people today, but taken from all time, which is probably how this would be interpreted, then yeah, I don't see how Pac-Man's that high up. I don't see how Sackboy's that high up. I don't see how Agent 47's that high up. Meatman says, look like it's the result of a poll. BAFTA's released the results of its landmark players poll to establish the most iconic video game characters of all time. Wants to celebrate the 20th BAFTA Game Awards. Poll was engaged with 4,000 players from all over. That's a pretty low sample size. If you got like an actual popular games personality to do this test, they could probably get at least a couple million respondents to this. Captain Price is another good one, but maybe he should be on here. Maybe top 20. He's been in almost all the Counter-Strikes. Not Counter-Strike, Call of Duty. Same starting letter, same genre. But yeah, also, not particularly from Counter-Strike, I guess, because they're not really characters. No Banjo. I'm not sure Banjo is popular enough to make it onto here, but one to consider for sure. Vault Boy. I'm not sure he'd be called a character. I mean, he's sort of a character in the universe itself. He's like a cartoon character in the universe, but doesn't really have a personality. He's a UI element. So maybe if you would count him as a character, then he could be on here, yeah. Counter Duty. But yeah, we could make our own version of this chat. We could do our own one. And if we did, Ezio would be a lot higher up. I can tell you that for free. Revan from KOTOR. I'm not familiar with him myself, but KOTOR's very well known, yeah. Achilles, as I mentioned, the question here is apparently the 20 most iconic video game characters of all time. And this is as measured by BAFTA. I think if any character is originally from not a video game, then maybe they shouldn't count on here, like the Transformers characters and like other licensed characters. Or at least they should only count on here for the game popularity, which is very hard to distinguish. Very hard. I guess you would have to say that the character itself has to be someone who is predominantly from games. You could have a movie spin-off at some point and it doesn't disqualify them. Yeah. Dante from Devil May Cry and Bayonetta probably should be on here as well, or at least up for consideration, yeah.